So step number one is always, always, always fix the flip. It doesn't matter how good the backswing is, how good the weight shift is, how good the transition from backswing to downswing is. If this right hand is flipping through impact, the golfer will never get any better. So the first step is always, always, always to fix the flip. The reason is because when this right hand is pushing the through impact, that club head is traveling up through impact, and either the golfer hits the ground before the ball, or the golfer lifts up through impact and hits the middle part of the ball and catches a ball thin. Also, that club face doesn't get closed, so the golfer's always going to hit fades and slices when we have this right hand flip. So the first step is always to correct the flipping through impact. So what we do here is we're going to train the hands to close this club face correctly, so that way instead of this right hand flip through impact, we're going to get these hands leading the club head through impact and closing the club face correctly. Get a little bit of shoulder turn here and then close this club face correctly through impact. So now the hands can lead through impact and the golfer can hit ball then ground as opposed to ground then ball. So that's kind of the first one. And then we can kind of improve on that and go to the next one. We're going to see this kind of compare before and after this technique of this right hand pushing. We're going to train the hands to close the club face correctly. And then now we get a much better move through impact. So we're going to compare to before to after. And we're going to see this move through impact now is a lot better. The hands are leading the club head through impact. We can hit ball then ground. You can see what these hands are doing if you know what to look for. Instead of this rear shaft lean through impact, we have now forward shaft lean through impact. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it's this golfer here, first name Jaime, or this golfer here. We can see the flipping through impact, this rear shaft lean, that club head passing the hands. When the club head passes the hands, that's when the golfer has to come over the top in order to chop down and across the golf ball in an effort to try to hit ball then ground. So one of the first things we do is we train the right wrist instead of going into flexion through impact. We train the right wrist actually to go into extension through impact to close the club face while the hands can lead the club head through impact. Okay, so then after we get the right hand trained, then we can get the right hand to help the left hand. And then we get both hands on the club. We're going to train that right wrist. And then now we go from kind of this flipping through impact to now we can get the hands leading the club head and closing the club face correctly. We're going to see the work that we're doing on the hands here. And then now the hands can lead the club head through impact. We can close this club face while the hands lead the club head through impact. Okay, so from here, this is just day one, but you can see huge improvement from going from this flip and this right wrist in flexion to now the right wrist going from flexion to extension through impact. Okay, so another example is Sean. Here is his before technique. If you know what to look for, you can see that right hand flipping through impact. He gets this, because of the right hand pushing, he gets this lean into the golf ball because he's trying to figure out how to hit ball then ground. So he kind of leans forward and then kind of backs out of it with that right hand flipping through impact, this right wrist going into flexion. Again, that club head passing the hands through impact. And we can see when that happens, when this right hand is pushing this club head through impact, this club face is going to stay open through impact. It's a very inefficient way to close that club face because the club head has to pass the hands. And you can see when that right hand is pushing, when this right wrist goes into flexion, we're adding loft, that club face is staying open. So one of the first things you have to do is learn to close this club face correctly. You have to learn to get your left wrist going from extension to flexion and your right wrist going from flexion to extension. And then we can get this club face closing correctly, moving through impact as the hands lead the club head through impact. Now we can have forward shaft lean and hit ball then ground instead of rear shaft lean hitting ground then ball. So first we get the hands closing the club face correctly, then we can build the rest of the swing around it. But that's got to be the first thing that gets corrected.